If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning, everyone. It is Saratoga Today for Sunday, August 27th. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz, here in the HHH Racing Podcast. Join my wonderful co-host, Paul Halloran and Pete Visco. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, hit the notification bell, and also smash that like button. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor from a listening perspective. Everyone knows about our wonderful Power Picks. Look below the video player for that information. And also Pete Visco has created a wonderful website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Everyone should check that out. Guys, we've got a lot to talk about. The first thing, well, first of all, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The first thing I want to say, and I know we've a lot of people watching already, guys, and we thank you very much. A few things right off the top. First of all, this week, not including, of course, this morning, we've had over 4,000 views and listens on our channel for Travers Week. So we cannot thank people enough. Our shows are consistently now, guys, having over 1,000 views. We had close to 500 listens on our audio platforms just on our Thursday night show alone. So again, we just want to thank everyone there for your support. We cannot do it without you. It's really means a lot to us. Paul met some of his fan club was last night, Paul. So again, Pete, you know, we're running into people when we go to tracks. It is pretty cool just to meet people and meet fans of the show. The other thing, let's just get the elephant out of the room. We are having a big show tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm hoping that Paul and Pete can both be there along with possibly some other co-hosts, and we will break down the Travers Day races, including the tragic events of New York Thunder, in great detail. It'll be about a 45-minute to an hour show tomorrow night. We are not going to focus on that this morning. I had someone tweet out Pete and Paul or contact me. I think it was a DM. And we all know Twitter can be or X, whatever the hell we're calling, could be a cesspool. Said, "Oh, Howard, you haven't said much about New York Thunder. Paul, you're in PR. Sometimes you have to give things a little time to breathe. We all have very strong, visceral reactions. We all feel horrible about the situation. But Paul, you do PR for a living. We're going to let this breathe for 48 hours, and we have plenty to say tomorrow night. The last thing you want to do is go off the cuff and go crazy and say nonsense, Paul, correct?"
Well, I don't know what that person would have expected you to say, Howard. I don't think I don't think you would be in favor of what happened. Obviously, you're horrified like any other reasonable human being. It's a tremendous tragedy. The similarities to Maple Leaf Mel are eerie, with an undefeated horse from relatively low-profile connections. You know, what did that person expect you to go on Twitter and say? I mean, you know, we're in racing, you know, to different levels. We're all in racing. Okay. Do I want racing to end? No. You know, do I understand why people like Richie Migliori and Sarah Gordon from the TDN walked out of there yesterday? Yes.
Oh,
I
really?
do.
I didn't hear about that.
I saw, well, again, Sarah, I saw a tweet from directly, and Richie, I saw a tweet somewhere that someone had an interaction with him, and he just said, you know, I'm out.
So
and that was
after that race. Is that what you're saying? Left the
facility, according to the and you know, and I understand that. You know, I mean, I'm there working to some degree, and you know, both with the Whitney the test and yesterday, you know, I don't know if I were just there watching and for shits and giggles, as they say, I'm not so sure. I might not have taken a walk, at least to clear the head. So, you know, I think it's unfair for anyone to expect, you know, what do they think you're going to say? Do we want to end racing? No. Do we want to mitigate these things so, you know, they don't happen as frequently? Yes, of course.
I hate to switch gears, but I have to bring this up because this does not happen too often. Israel, everyone's like, who's Israel? He's a student in my 8th-hour math class. Israel, what's up, buddy? Good morning. Israel,
Extra credit.
At 9:30 for a high school kid to be up at this
That's
time.
an automatic A. That's an automatic A. Yeah,
no
that's
doubt.
an A. Just give them an A. Just give them an A, right?
It's done. You don't even have to come to class anymore, Israel. You're done.
There you go. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Love
Here's
it.
what's fun. There's two things that are funny about this. Number one, I don't have an 8th-hour math class. He's actually in my 7th-hour math class. Number one, and he is in my honors college algebra class, or what a lot of schools call pre-calculus honors. So Israel's a smart young man, other than the fact that he got the period wrong, but that's okay. But Israel, man, thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate you joining the show. Anyway, I hate to.
Yeah.
It's hard.
No, so again, I don't know what anyone expected. What the reaction was supposed to be. Are you going to condemn the whole sport? Is that what you're supposed to do?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Pete, again, I'll let you have one, just your initial visceral thought. I mean, it's horrible, obviously. Just any thoughts you had after the race, or just in general? We'll talk a lot more tomorrow night. I
mean, it's horrifying, but it's also, you have to compartmentalize a little bit. And I'm one of those people who tries not to make every event so personal about myself. I mean, it's not as personal for me because I don't like to put myself in the position of other people who are closer to the horse, who are closer to the situation, who are even there, because this happens. And I mean, if you go on Twitter, it's made a big deal of, because it happens in such a profile event and it's such a high profile horse.
We don't want to give Noble short shrift either.
No, definitely not. That's what I mean, though.
It was after the people couldn't see it. It was after the race. It doesn't make it any better by any means.
Well, that's the thing. Context and circumstance make one more high profile than the other. So everyone has to comment on one. Meanwhile, if it was a Tuesday at, Canterbury or whatever, nobody, not that people don't care, but it wouldn't be outrage. And the thing is, I think and Paul, I don't know what you think on this, is when this happens, the problem is there's never a reasonable cause and effect. So there's never an answer that says, this is what happens, this is how you fix it. And that's, I think, what the concern is, because you sit there and you're just in the dark. You're like, well, why did this happen? Does it happen? Like, the way I would look at it in my real job is, and has nothing to do with live animals, obviously, but you would say, well, what happened?
That'd be cool if you added that to your job.
I know, that would be awesome. But really what you do is you look at a problem and you say, okay, what are the sort of data points, and are there any consistencies? So is it like, hey, this seems to happen the day after it rains when we seal the track, or this seems to happen with, I've seen on Twitter where, like, horses who were on Lasix, off Lasix, and they're sort of switching back and forth. Do they have that in their bloodlines, or they're bred this way? That's a lot of information. And it's not just like where you could say, all right, New York Thunder went down because of this, and here's the reason. And I think that's the biggest problem, is this happens, we have no answers, so it's hard to have an obvious fix. So I think that's where that gray area, I think, is what just leaves it. You don't have any closure to it. It just happens, and then it's over, and then it happens again, and you go, well, what the hell could we have done different this time?
Yeah, well, again, guys, we're going to talk a lot
more
tomorrow night. I think very well said, Pete and Paul. I just wanted to give you guys a chance to have, say a word this morning. A lot of new people in the chat. Again, thank you so much. I mean, with Bedry, Mark Walcott, I don't think I've seen your name before. Thank you very much. Again, it's awesome, guys. We got a lot of new viewership. Let's go ahead and talk about the late pick five. Again, tomorrow night, everyone. Tomorrow night, Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be talking, recapping the races, and, of course, talk about the events of the day as well. But they are racing this morning. And so, guys, we're going to talk about this afternoon. We are going to talk about the races, right? Naira has deemed it safe. Taisa has deemed it safe. So let's move on, guys. Let's talk about the late pick five. Let me go ahead and bring up the Equibase here on the screen. Give me 1 second, please. And we'll do that right now. Race 7 starts. Let me take the banner off too here. There we go. Race 7 starts the late pick five today. Now, this is New York-Bred Showcase Day, which we didn't even mention that. We should have mentioned that right off the top. But it is New York-Bred Showcase Days. These are all New York-Breds all day, and what a fantastic program they have. I'm very proud to co-own, as well as, actually, Dracone is Dracone a New York-Bred, Paul?
Dracone is not, but Cannon Fire, the horse that my wife has a piece of.
Okay, so yeah, Paul and I have pieces of New York Breds. Very proud to call ourselves New York bred owners. The Seeking the Ante starts the late pick 5 today. This is for 2-year-old fillies. Of course, they're all bred in New York. I'm not going to say that after after that comment there. Everything is bred in New York. 6 furlongs. You see the field. Small field of 6. Wide open, though. In fact, you have the morning line favorite is the number 6, Stella Maris, for Horatio and Santana, coming off a very sort of quick turnaround after a solid maiden race. And if I recall, it was actually in open company. Let me go ahead and bring up our picks for everyone on the screen. And there they are. And let's go to Pete first. Pete, you're going to go with Caldwell Loves Gold, who sort of got shuffled back in his lone, or her, I did it again. There we go. Her lone start. Ran very well, won her debut, if I recall, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is tailor made for a horse for me to like, which is probably a bad thing. But she dropped way back. She was sort of, she looked uncomfortable. It says even in the note she was climbing. She just didn't look comfortable. She was sort of in the back of the pack. But then once Giroux got her sort of straightened out, she just made a move and just sort of engulfed the field and then powered away pretty strongly. So that's just a race. When I watched it, I thought, hey, if we can do that, if this horse can do that into relatively, not the fastest of fractions, relatively moderate, a little quick in the middle there. But if she can do that, then maybe against even better horses, if she can get a little bit of pace up front. And it's not like she's coming from sort of small time connections or anything. I mean, she's a Brad Cox. She's out of Golden Sense, who was an awesome horse. And so I look at it and go, if we can move her forward off of that and maybe get her even in the race a little bit better this time from the rail, I think she's got a pretty good shot.
No doubt about it. We're going to sort of limit ourselves on replays this morning. You've got the 5 in second. Concerte, not going with the Italian horse on top. Interesting.
Well, that's more of a, this is the horse though that the one will be trying to run down most likely. I mean, if you look from a time form standpoint, it's pretty. Yeah. And again, it's only one race, so it's always like for anybody listening, buyers, time form, all that's tough after just one race because they can change so quickly in race 2. But I figure this is the one that's going to be on the top. You lose Sayas to injury, now you're picking up Irad, so not the worst of not the worst of changes in the world.
By the way, just quick tidbits from yesterday, just have you to mention Arcangelo, who, congratulations anyone at Arcangelo. We have plenty to talk about that horse tomorrow. I'm sure Paul and I were very pleased with that result. Got a 105 buyer, 105, that running his best race ever. And Echo Zulu with a 112, pairing up, the last huge effort. Echo Zulu is a complete freakazoid right now, filly or boy, or male or female. Probably the best sprinter of the country right now, maybe even better than Gunite and or Elite Power. You could at least make that argument. Anyway, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Paul, you're going with Stella Maris, cutting back from 7 to 6. Ran very well last time in open company. My only question with this horse is this going to be too short for her in the quick turnaround? But, I mean, she's very logical here.
Yeah, I didn't think any of the maiden wins were particularly, impactful to me. So, this horse is still a maiden, obviously, but I do think the open company is a mitigating factor. And Santana did not hurry. The horse was toward the back, 5th out of 7. Didn't really hurry her. Got her into the race in the latter stages, and she took a lot of money on debut in an open company race, which I think is a good sign. I'm a big fan of Larry Goichman. He owns and bred the horse. Catalina Cruiser is doing okay. So yeah, I think and put up a number that's better than any of the maiden winners, the 71. So like the outside post. I hear what you're saying on the cutback. I got a feeling she won't be quite as far back today.
Yeah, she's very logical, gets an outside post. And I hate to even say this, Paul, but it's been so, Andy sort of talked about it yesterday. The weather is gorgeous there today in Saratoga Springs, from what I understand. It's going to be sunny. There's no rain in the forecast. It's going to be beautiful. Paul, does it look that way to you?
Well, it's not sunny right now. I can tell you that looking out
Okay,
my
it's supposed
window.
to be nice.
Of course,
All right.
yesterday was gloriously sunny until we had yet another deluge, and then it was sunny and there was a rainbow out for the Travers. So you figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know. Guys, I'm going with the 2. You know, this is what's fun about handicapping, guys, is remember yesterday, the last 3 races, yesterday morning, we all had the exact same horse on top, of which we were trying to think if we were right or not. Well, our 10 Champions Dream was awful, but the 4 won the race, and then I can't recall the other horse we had on top. But anyway, we are very different this morning, guys, and that's the great thing about this game. I'm going with My Shady Lady. I like the fact that she broke her maiden against Open Company, did it well. I know it was only 5 furlongs. Gulfstream is not the same, obviously, in the summer as it is in the winter, but I do like the fact that Carlos David has brought My Shady Lady, guys, up to New York early, has plenty of good works over the tracks, figures to get a good trip, and I think has as good a shot as any, and maybe a little bit of a price here. So I'm going with My Shady Lady, not a real strong opinion. That's how I feel about this race. Let's go on to the next race, guys, right now as I go ahead and switch the banners to race 8. And you can see now race 8, race 8, I had a chuckle, Paul, when I saw your picks for a certain reason. We'll talk about why in a second. If anyone has scratches, I have Sterling on.
I'm keeping an eye out on it, Howard.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Let's go to the next race here. And I guess we don't have scratches in yet. Is that right?
I haven't seen any, no.
Okay.
Throw it in the chat if anybody sees them before we do. Sorry, Howard. Throw it in the chat if anybody sees them come up.
Race 8, guys, has a horse that I have a piece of called Gemmin 10. This is a really cool horse. He's the 13, and he does get into this race. I've seen him at the barn many times. He's a sweetheart, guys. Some horses you don't want to necessarily get close to. This guy likes to cuddle with you. He'll come up to you. He's a great guy, a great boy. Ran big last time. We'll talk about his shots today. I will be very honest. I know, like, if I was on Fox or something, like, legally, I'm supposed to put this horse on top. And I'm chuckling, Paul, because you're the only one that has Gemmin 10 on top. I don't even have my own horse on top. But listen, I want to be honest to the viewers out there. Well, I'll tell you why in a minute. But let's go ahead to this race. This is an allowance race. It's a mile and 16th on the inner. It's a big field. You can see there are 4 also eligibles. Gemmin 10, my horse, a horse I have a small piece of, is getting in the race, which means there is at least 1 scratch. How do I know, guys? Because Matt Gutierrez texted me this morning and said there is at least 1 scratch, and Gem is running. So I know Gem is running. I don't know who the scratches are. He does have a tough outside post, though. Although the mile and 16th inner, there is more of a run into the first turn than obviously at a mile. So he will have time to get over from the outside, but it's still certainly not ideal. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Paul, I got to go to you first. I mean, how do I not go to you first in this race? You're going with my boy, Gemmin 10, who ran huge last time against Bill Parcells' owned horse, Let's Go Big Blue, who I got to be honest, was taken down in a stake last time. I think rightly so, although the coach wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah, I think that's the tell, as they say in poker. That horse came back and ran huge again and won the race. I agree with you. I thought it was a close call, but I would have taken him down. But the other 3, though, after Gemmin 10 are all main track only, so they will be scratched 14, 15, 16. Obviously, you need 1 coming out of the body of the race in order to get in, and it sounds like it. So, yeah, the 13 is, well, he's not going to be all the way out to the 13. We know he's going to be no further than the 12, and perhaps closer if there's more than 1 scratch. Yeah, I thought he ran really well last time, and for me, the way that Let's Go Big Blue, he came back and won the Rick Violet Stakes before being taken down. This horse has 24 days rest. We like Ray Handel.
A little quicker than we'd like to race, but Ray feels confident enough. So I'm listen. I'm gonna listen to.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? You're in the last week, right? And it's a $95,000 allowance, and when you go downstate next week, 2 weeks, you may not be running a state bred for $95,000.
Definitely won't be.
You
A lot
know,
of people
so
like his
I
routine
see it.
also, by the way, on the chat.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm happy to represent your horse, Howard. I'll
Appreciate that.
uh,
My only concern, well, I'll let Pete give his picks and we'll talk. Gem 10 definitely has a shot. It's just a very tough post, and this is not the easiest field either. You are going with the 1 Paul in second. This is my top choice. Whistler's Honor. There's two things I really like about the source. I think the post is a big advantage in this race, and I do like his upside and improvement. It's just, guys, there's something that I need to continue to work on as a handicapper. It's a bit of a blind spot for me, I will readily admit. Sometimes I go with horses that are more consistent, that look faster, instead of going with these younger, improving horses. And we've talked about this a zillion times. It's like the stock market. You have to try to predict what's going to happen today, not what's happened before. And I sometimes am guilty of that. I'm not going to be guilty of that with this horse. I think this horse, guys, could run a low 80s, and this is my top pick, Paul.
yeah, I like the fact that he closed into a relatively slow pace last time, 113 and 3 for 6, 137 for the mile. It looks like he is going to need some pace to run into, which I think speed is a little better on the inner than.
I would agree.
I think you'd rather see a horse like this on the main turf course. But again, the fact that his buyers have improved every race and closed into that relatively slow pace, that's why I thought he would have a good chance here. Won't beat Gem Mid 10, but a good chance.
Well, hopefully not for my sake. Be of Courage. This is a price play for you, Pete. I believe on your wonderful power picks that we just sent out this morning. 8-1 morning line. Castellano, who, guys, I have to say this. We're going to talk about tomorrow night. This guy is a serious candidate for an Eclipse Award, and I know he's not going to have nearly as many wins as the Ortizes and the Flavians, but every big race, guys, this guy's won this year that he's been on practically. It's just amazing, Pete. And you're going with him with Be of Courage here.
Yeah. I don't think this race is going to win him the Eclipse, but hopefully he gets the win and it puts some money in our pockets. There are, or at least the pockets of the Power Pick subscribers as well, if they play it. Yeah, this was, again, this wasn't a race where I thought, obviously I didn't know Gen Min 10 was in when I put it in. So there was no world beaters before this morning until I knew that horse was getting in the body of the field. But now,
Come on, Jen.
When I made this pick, though, what I liked about this horse was actually in the breeding. I think I'm just taking a shot that I think this horse might like going a little longer, and actually did run a little better going a mile. Now we're going 2 turns for the first time. And I just have a feeling based on the breeding that this one's going to enjoy the extra distance. And if you look at it, when it came back at 3, was steadily improving from a buyer standpoint, looked better from a time form standpoint, and from a result standpoint. Then you get that last race, was bet down, a little under 4-1, basically 7-2-ish, 4-1. It was a yielding course, got sandwiched right out of the gate. Basically, the 2 horses on either side just crushed him, pushed this horse way back, was dead last, was just sort of out of it. And then at that point, maybe who knows if the yielding course he didn't like, and if if you watch it's hard to see there. You see him get dropped way back, but even from the head on, it's even worse because you could actually see the 2 horses sandwich him. So I'm hoping that he was just sort of taken out of his game completely, and then maybe also didn't. Yeah, if you see it right there, just sort of mushed. And then with the yielding course, maybe the course he didn't like as well. But if you just scratch that race and you look at the steady improvement, if he can move forward one more time off of that race 2 back, then I think he fits really well in this field, even towards the top of it. And you're getting 8-1 and Castellano to boot.
Nothing wrong with the price in this race. My general feeling, guys, is the 1 and the 13 are the most talented horses in this race. I'm just concerned about the post of the Gem Min 10. Guys, he's a bit one pace. He doesn't have explosive moves. He's a really nice 3-year-old New York-bred turf horse, but he doesn't have explosive moves. He's more of a grindy type. And Dylan's going to I think Dylan's going to stay on this horse. I think he's on the 6 also, someone mentioned, which I didn't look at, but I don't know. Usually they stay on their main body horse. Yeah, he's on the 6. I would be shocked if Dylan's on the 6 in this race. I'm sure he's going to go with Gem here. Dylan's going to have to work out a trip. But if Geminten can get position in the first turn into a relatively, decent pace, nothing crazy fast, he's got a shot. I'm just concerned about the post guys. So that's my main reason.
The one scared me a little bit because he doesn't seem to break all that great. And out of the one hole, you just worry that if it doesn't break well, that because I had that horse in second, but that was if you're trying to knock down a 3-1 shot, that was a little bit of a concern I had.
No question. Let's move on to the next race, guys. Race 9. You see our picks on. Again, we are pretty different here. This is a pretty tough late pick 5, guys, and ladies. By the way, shout out to Maiden Focus, who loved the 9 first-time Siren Mod horse yesterday, who came through. I think it's 7-2, if I recall. So shout out to Maiden Focus for that great score that we mentioned on the chat. Let's go ahead to race 9, guys. It's an allowance race. Of course, we know what kind of bred this is for. 5.5 furlongs this time on the turf. Another huge field here of 12. There's a bunch of also eligibles. There's only one also eligible, Royal Dancer, who's meant for turf. These other 3s are main track only, and it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today at Saratoga. Moreline favors the rail number 1 Weekend Rags for Abreu and Pratt. Pete and Paul, you're both going to go with Carey for Joe Sharp and Tyler G. Pete, what do you like about this horse? 8-1 morning line. You guys are fishing again. This could be a real nice day of prices.
Yeah, this was actually another one of. This was my sort of underneath price play on the power picks.
The reverse key back wheel. I love it.
Yeah, I did that. Although I did put sort of on the picks, I put an across the board bet as well. But looking for a price here. This was one where it just had sort of a little bit of an odd trajectory so far. So breaks the maiden, goes right into, we're in open company, goes right into stakes, doesn't run very well. 2 bad stakes races, gets a little time off, drops back down to an optional claimer, runs okay. At least showed something off that long layoff. They leave the Clement barn, they go to the Sharp barn, go to Belmont. In another pretty good stakes race, Liguria is pretty good. Tax Implications is pretty good. Gets the lead, cutting some fractions, and then just folds. But that was at a mile. Then you go back to the allowance under Sharp second time, and then the race comes up sloppy, comes off the turf, runs mostly like crap. Did show some speed, though, again. Now I'm hoping that, hey, we're getting the progression from 2 to 3 maybe, and now we're getting this horse back to the, I think, 5.5 we're at, right? 5.5 that I think she's going to like. So again, at a price in a field that I don't love, I think this one has a shot to maybe show some tactical speed or even be a little closer and hopefully get back to, again, where the progression might have been if it was a little bit more of a linear road that she's been on instead of the back and forth in terms of trainer, in terms of distance, in terms of surface. So.
Here's what I'm saying, and I'm looking at this shaking my head. Why did I do this? I've got the 9 in third, and the only reason I bring it up, guys, is this what I'm talking about. The 9 is consistent, right? Is a 4-year-old filly, 70, 70, 70, but is 1 for 11 compared to the 8, who only has 1 race in the 70s, but is a 3-year-old who has much bigger upside. So again, this is like one of those, I'm knocking myself. The 9 you'd think is better, just based on pure numbers, but I think the 8 has a better chance to win this race, and I should change my pick. So listen, if you're not going to fall on your sword and evaluate your own handicapping, then you're being stupid. I also want to mention the August 13th work for Carey was a B as in boy, and the comment was made a good physical appearance. And then the August 20th on my birthday work, another positive turf spin, making up ground on a target without being set down. Very positive workout report for the 8. In fact, guys, I'm going to move up the 8. I'm going to go 158. I did not. Professor Kravitz did not evaluate and do his homework properly. Paul, anything you want to add to Carey here?
No, I think Pete summed it up. My main thing, Pete, was in agreement with you. I think the horse looks like a turf sprinter, and that's what she will be doing today.
Yep.
Sprinting on turf. I think they kept her in last time. She had run 1 time on dirt, although not well. And we talked, I think yesterday, Howard, about off the turf races being misbet. And this horse is 7-2. How was this horse 7-2 last time in that race? I get it. Well, she's coming off stakes races. Yeah, turf stakes races.
Staked. They always thought very highly of her too, right? I mean, so
Right.
Jordan Wyckoff, by the way, real sharp owner. I think they won a race yesterday, Paul, or maybe it was Friday. I can't recall. But anyway.
So yeah, I think and Joe Sharp is, as his name indicates, Sharp. He the high percentage trainer, puts horses in the right spot. I hadn't had a chance to read the workout reports, Howard, yet, so I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear your report. And yeah.
By the way, Joe Sharp in turf sprints in 2023, 32% right now as well. So he's been 28 races. So you're not the hugest sample size, but it's big enough. I mean, that's plenty to get a feel.
Let's talk about one more horse, guys, and then we're going to move on to the last race. Again, thank you very much. This is the biggest viewership we've had on a Sunday morning all meet. So thank you very much for joining the show. Again, this is your host, Howard Kravitz of the HHH Racing Podcast, Saratoga Today, as we're going over the late pick 5 here on a beautiful Sunday. Weekend Rags. Paul, you've got this one. Second consistent. Flavian, Inside Pros, Abreu, Fitz. Logical.
Right. Yeah, all of the above, right? Good buyers are good.
Check.
Yeah, buyers are good. Not off the charts. The last race was pretty quick, and went to the lead and got overtaken by 2. But post helps, should help with a horse that has some speed. So yeah, I just think a logical. I wouldn't be in love with the horse on the win end. I'll obviously use her in the pick 5, but I certainly think if you had to pick one horse that you were going to bet to be a part of it, that this looks like the one.
By the way, while we have a second, Carrie's 8-1 morning line. Pete and Paul, I'll let you guys answer. I won't give my opinion. What odds will Carrie go off at, do you think, in this race? And what are the lowest odds you would take on a win end? Because obviously you guys would be interested in a win bet in this race on Carrie. Pete, let's have you go first. What odds will she go off at? And what's your value line per se? Or what's the lowest you would go on a win end with Carrie?
Honestly, I thought this was a tough one to come up with the odds, and David Aragona, I don't think he disagreed, because the odds are sort of they're sort of spread. I think you'll get every bit of the 8. In all honesty, I think it'll be somewhere around there, and I would probably go as low as maybe, I don't know, 6-ish, something like that. Depending. If it's not too low, I'd take a shot on a horse like that, because even if it's not, as long as they don't just bang this horse out of the gate and all of a sudden it's 2-1, which when you look at it, when you have a price play and you look at it and you go, what the hell happened? Why is this? I mean, it's a good thing because it's taking money sometimes, but for your bet and your payout, it's not the favorite thing you want to see.
Pete, horses never get bet down late with smart.
No, never.
All your thoughts? I think she's going to be like 5-1, to be honest, but I would still bet her on the win end for me.
Well, I think now that 2 of the foremost racing minds in America have picked her, that's clearly going to lower.
Probably 9-5 right now, Paul.
Fairly obvious. I think she'll go at about 6, and I would not take anything below 5.
Paul, look who's here. Oh, sorry.
Pick 5, Brian. Had to leave to go to a wedding, a poorly planned wedding. Someone that he knows got married on Travers Day. That was a travesty.
What in the world are they thinking?
But he was here Thursday and Friday. Yes, good guy.
Lionard, Lionarite. I'm pretty much. I think it's pronounced that way. Guys, my picks are horrible in this race. I'm just going to say it. What am I thinking here? I don't. I saw improvement and maybe, but no, I don't. I guess I read. I don't know, guys. I forget. I don't like this horse. Forget my picks. Well, Paul, you've got her third. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Irad always brings horses up, guys. He just does.
Yeah, he ran pretty well in that off the turf race last time. Was way behind, 16 lengths behind in a 5.5 furlong race. So no chance.
Tough race.
I understand why they kept her in. I'm not so sure if it's turf or dirt. The win's on turf, but has a second on dirt. So yeah, I wouldn't get beat yourself up too much on this horse. I think this horse has a chance to be part of it.
I would say 35 non-winners of 2, to a New York allowance.
That's the issue.
Oh, really? I think it's more like a lateral move, actually. But open company 35, non-winners 2 to allowance New York.
Well, the fact, yes, the fact I looked at that, Howard, and the fact that it was open company is what. Yeah, I do agree with that. Okay. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
One other thing I'm going to talk about on the show tomorrow night, guys, and this has not been talked about a lot. I'm not saying I found something that no one has seen. I think IRAD made a major mistake in the Travers, and I'm going to talk about tomorrow night. I'm not going to say what part of the race or why. I'll mention tomorrow night. Watch the replay again and watch Forte carefully, who really didn't run very well, frankly. But I think IRAD made a major mistake, and he's one of the best jockeys in the world. I'll talk about that.
The ride was awful. The ride was awful, by the way. Yeah, we'll get to that tomorrow, but it was awful.
We'll tease that tomorrow night. All right, let's go to race 10, guys. Race 10, penultimate leg of the pick 5. This is the Albany. Real nice race, guys. Nice stake for $250,000. 3-year-olds, field of 7 with some very nice New York breds here. 3 of them in particular, all at around 2 to 1. David Aragona has made Maker's Candy for, of course, Michael Maker and Jose Ortiz, the 9 to 5 morning line favorites. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. We are all going with different horses here. Pete, let's go to you. You're going with Maker's Candy.
Yeah, by the way, David Aragona made Maker's Candy the favorite, but I was listening to a pod with him and Nick Tamaro, and they don't really like Maker's Candy. They like Drake's Passage a lot more for the distance, just for informational purposes. I went with the 2.
Well, Pete, sorry, I want to jump on that a second, because people are going to say, why is Aragona trying to get a better price? Guys, listen.
No, God, no.
Listen to what we're saying, people. If you're not morning line makers, make the morning lines. They are trying to predict what the public believes will be the odds off at post time, not what he personally believes. Go ahead, Pete.
No, 100%. Yes. And I didn't mean it to disparage David in any way. I happened to be listening to that pod this morning, and I was thinking about this race because I was up in the air too between sort of the 2 and the 6, and it was sort of an obvious race. I thought one with the top 3 horses. I just think this one maybe just has some decent upside. We'll see about the distance. The race 2 back was pretty impressive, and you get it from a buyer standpoint, pretty impressive from a time form standpoint. Stretched out in the last one, had a little bit of trouble at the start, and then just couldn't close the deal again at really, really low odds against a horse that he should have beaten. But I'm just going with the fact that maybe that was just the start, the stumble a little bit, maybe just took a little spice out of him, and now you're going to get back to that race 2 back, and we see the race, what is that, 5 back or so with a 90 buyer. And again, not that buyer is everything, but it just shows that this horse has some talent. But I don't really have a strong opinion in this race between like the 2, the 6, even the 3. I think, aside from the fact that the 5 is going to win Jackson Heights. Hopefully my dad will have that horse for my son. He'll bet Jackson. So if the 5 wins, then there'll be some Visco happiness anyway.
If that horse wins.
I mean, yeah, I'm not.
Well,
it's funny
because your father cashed on a 99 to 1 a few weeks ago or something.
I mean, yeah, I posted that. I posted that on Twitter. Fox. His dog's name is Fox, and I saw the horse come up, and I was like, Dad, did you have this horse? And he's like, I did, across the board. Nice night. You're never gonna have a 90 to 1 shot, most likely, unless it's the name of something. So
absolutely. Why not? Paul, I did read this right. You're going 1, 2, 3. Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure.
Yeah. Don't adjust your set.
I know you like to have a beverage.
Is Leo your dog's name, Paul?
I didn't think you were a morning drinker, Paul. I thought you were mainly your normal like nighttime kind of guy. But
you know what?
Leo and Royal, talk to us, Paul. 20 to 1. I love
this. This is off the rails. I bet it. I'm betting. I think there's a chance this race falls apart in the last furlong.
Okay.
And I know it's Finger Lakes. I know the buyers are sub 70. You get Tyler. Jeremiah Engelhardt is 22% in dirt roots. We're on Travers weekend. His sire Alpha was a dead heat winner of the Travers with Golden Ticket. Ecton Park was also a distance horse. So I don't think I'm positive, as positive as you can be. The horse can get the mile and an eighth. The 2 has never run beyond a mile and a 16th. The 3 has never run beyond a mile and a 16th. The 4's a sprinter. Jackson Heights, your guy Pete the Zilla horse, who won a Peter. The race to bet Jackson Heights was last September at Aqueduct when he was 24-1 in the Bertram Bongard. So yeah, the 8 is never run beyond a mile.
Neither is the 6 either.
I believe this is strictly betting that the race falls apart and this horse comes from the clouds and bingo, bango, bongo.
Paul, not only is the 8 not run over a mile, the 8's not even in this race. There is no 8. So whoever that 8 is.
It's a long week. It's a long week, Uncle. Okay?
We got
it. It's a long week.
What is there about Alpha is the name people should know, right, Paul? The sire?
Alpha was the dead heat winner of the Travers with Golden Ticket. I was here.
Not a problem.
And Ecton Park, I believe Ecton Park, if I'm not mistaken, was on the Derby trail. No, he wasn't on the Derby trail, but he was a rooter. He was a dirt rooter. Again. Oh no, wait a minute. That's Claude. That's the DM. Sorry, Howard. I'm really.
Well, while you're checking it out, let me talk about Drake's Passage because some people in the chat love this horse, some people don't.
Yeah.
Let me say first, I think a lot of people know I have a little bit of a relationship with the Clements because I have a few horses that I own with them. I did not get in contact with Miguel Clement on Drake's Passage, so I don't have inside intel. But you know what, guys? If you're concerned about distance with this horse, I personally am not. He's by Tonalist. Tonalist was a Belmont winner. He could run all day. Maybe on the bottom side is not quite distance. The Clements do a great job, guys, of spotting their horses, and they know what they have underneath the engine, so to speak. I'm not worried about distance. Maybe he's not good enough, but I think he's going to get a great trip here. He doesn't have to be on the lead. He's going to stalk. It's only this horse's second start of the year for Robert Evans, an excellent ownership group here. And Franco, guys, I really, really like the Drake's Passage today. I know he's 2-1, so I'm not saying anything overly creative, but this would be a major play for me horizontally if I play a pick 4 or pick 5 today, and definitely on the win end if I get a decent price. I just love his upside, guys. I think this is a real nice New York bred who has a bright future. Let's go to the last race here, guys, as we talk about the last race of the day today on Sunday. We'll do it real quickly. Our scratches are not in yet, guys, still?
I still haven't. I'm looking at
Andy Sewing has not put up. I haven't seen anything yet, actually. So
that's the only place I usually know where to look for them, so I don't.
All right, well, that makes our job easier because that means we can go real fast through this last race since we don't know exactly who's in it anyway. But you see our picks on the – no, you don't. Well, you do see picks, but the wrong race. These are guesses, guys. On the bottom of the screen, we're guessing who's going to be in, who's not. It's a main special weight. This is off the turf, ladies and gentlemen. Off the turf, 1 mile. It's going to be out of the Wilson chute. I have no idea the field size. There are 3 also eligibles. These 2, 13 and 14, are meant for turf. Foxy Cara will be the favorite in this race. 7-5 morning line as a main track only. So you can always be guaranteed the 15 horse will be the favorite in this race. And you can see our picks on the bottom of the screen. Again, we're doing a lot of guesswork here. Let me go. Pete and Paul, you're both going with the 15. Who's going to be the horse to beat? I just frankly don't know how good the 15 is, really. Foxy Cara. Blinker is on, though. Very consistent, 5 or 6 in the money. Paul, this is the obvious choice. We don't know how wide a trip that she may get because we don't know how many are in the main, how I'm going to race here. But, I mean, she's got the best dirt form of everyone.
Yeah, this will be an instant replay probably. Yesterday there was an off the turf horse in the main track only 14 in the off the turf last race. Yes, it was 2-5. Yes, so I needed to complete a $10 pick 3. And yes, who got hooked early by a horse who had no chance and then got softened up enough that got passed by the Phil Bauer horse in the stretch.
So you and me both. I don't know. The 13 rushed up and made the, but maybe the 14 should have been good enough anyway, though, to be honest.
Yeah. The Bauer horse.
Though. Pretty fast pace. Yeah. Anyway, we digress.
So this horse, what I'm getting at is this horse will be similarly overbet, and that includes if she wins. She's going to be overbet regardless of the result of the race. But we don't know how many are going to stay in. I struggled. I don't know about you guys, but even trying to guess. Like I guess the 8's going to stay in, but the 8's 50-1.
None of them look like dirt horses, Paul. It looked like it'd be
Right,
three horses when they actually put the scratches in.
Howard, I see your pick. I took a long look at Autumn. I wouldn't be surprised, I guess, if they keep Autumn in, by constitution out of an unbridled song mare. That's probably logical. James Bond in the 5, unless he just wants to get her a run, that looks like turf pedigree.
Oh, pick 5. Brian wants to know about the Bond. They are not good first time out, but I will say the last 2 workouts, especially the last workout, very positive on the workout report for the last one. I will say. Yeah,
I'm just wondering. Again, I think I didn't do a deep dive, but it looks to me like more turf.
Although Air Force Blue is better dirt than turf, which is funny that they were debuting.
Yeah,
out of Waterfront, it is funny.
But does have good works on the dirt, not good first time out. But anyway,
I wonder. I'm interested in the 4. There's always a story. George Weaver, we know his wife had a very serious accident up here last year. Cindy, thank God she's back, and she was at Royal Ascot when he won with Crimson Advocate. But as part of her rehab, Cindy was sent to one of the great rehab hospitals in the world, Spalding Rehabilitation in Boston. Yep. And I am guessing and George bred and owns this horse. I am guessing
named after George Weaver's wife. Correct.
The 4 was actually in the power picks. The 4 was my top choice when it was on the turf. So I still like the horse. Again, I don't know. I think the breeding you could probably squint and make it and look a little bit at and get that one on dirt. But again, it's hard to know. These picks, I would say, take these picks with a grain of salt, only because this field could change so dramatically by the time the scratches come in. Sorry,
guys, I know that I'm just going to sort of shorten this if you guys don't mind. I know you have Shaman Princess. Logical, speed, distance, I have absolutely no idea, but you got a Shaman Ghost who can get distance. Maybe this horse will be better on the stretch out. Pete and Paul have this horse second. And I just, as Paul mentioned, Autumn is bred for dirt and has workouts on dirt. If this race was on turf, this would be my top pick. I'm just going to stick with her. I think she'll probably handle the dirt. She's been working okay on dirt. It's a guess. And also
Paul, hold on. Before you scroll down, can you go back up to the 7? Hey, Paul, I'm surprised Howard's not going with the 7 on top, because that dirt start with the 0 buyer, that's his new jam now. That's his thing now.
Yes.
So
But
it's a violence.
It's got to be
violence. It's got to be.
It's got to be the last race.
The last race. It was the last dirt race, so you just wipe those 2 turf ones out. It doesn't.
Yeah,
count.
I'm glad you brought that up though. But this is a different scenario. Just to clarify, I don't know if you're being tongue in cheek.
No, I am being very tongue in cheek. Yes,
okay.
Very tongue in cheek.
But just for people to know, I've mentioned that I like 0 buyers in the last race, but this is to me clearly a turf horse. So. It's a different situation, but anyway, it's funny that you mentioned the old 0 buyer. Shelly's another one, guys. I don't know if this horse can be in the race, but she's by Twirling Candy out of a Dr. Fong mare, so maybe this horse can handle dirt. Chad's been working her on dirt. I think she'll improve greatly. I don't know. It's a big guessing game. I don't really want to keep dwelling on this race, guys. I don't know. Foxy Cara doesn't do much for me. I'm going to try to beat her somehow, depending on who's in the field. Guys, it's been a great show. Any final thoughts? Again, we're going to talk tomorrow night extensively. Please watch us tomorrow night. Let me take the picks off the screen here. Please watch tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Paul, Pete, and I, and who knows, maybe some guys from Bet and Boozin'. I asked some TV personalities to maybe come on and talk. We'll see if we can get them on last second. Today, if we can just, for 1 second, guys, just wipe out what happened, the tragedy of yesterday, and just talk positive for a moment. Paul, we all love horse racing. We all love New York breds, or at least Paul, I know you and I do. This is their showcase day. I'm glad they're running today if they deem it to be safe. It's a day that the New York breds deserve. And the New York breeding program, just to close out, has improved tenfold in the last, I'd say, 15 years or so. New York breds can run anywhere in any spot, graded stakes. They've proven it. It's nice they have a day to themselves after the Travers.
Yeah, I walked by Cherie DeVoe's barn the other morning, and there is Zevo, who at one time I think was the third highest earning New York bred of all time. I think won the Suburban, if I'm not mistaken, or ran.
Who is the leading all-time New York bred? Do you know, money-wise?
Yeah, it's because of the race. You keep talking and I'll find.
All right, he'll look it up.
But yeah, no, I agree, Howard. And I'll be honest with you, I went to bed last night thinking there was a good chance they weren't going to run today.
Put in the chat. Who knows who's the leading before Paul?
Mind Your Biscuits won the race in Dubai with
there we go.
the Golden Shaheen. Funny side. Who right now I'm not there. Right now, the funny side is being the remains are being buried inside the main gate at Saratoga today.
Wait,
11 o'clock.
Hold on, 19 likes. Come on, people. Smash that like button before you leave the show, and please subscribe to it. Really, when you subscribe to the channel, everyone, it costs you nothing. For those of you not overly familiar with YouTube, subscribing, all it does is it sends people. It tells the algorithm of YouTube. It sends people to our channel and helps us with advertising and a lot of other ways. So please make sure you subscribe if you've not hit the subscribe button, and smash that like button. Pete, any final thoughts for today?
No, I was going to say it's Funny Sides Day. They're having a ceremony, correct, Paul? Still, I assume that's still going on.
Yes.
And the fourth race, which we didn't cover, is the Funny Side, and it's actually a pretty good race. So take a look at that one as well. There might be a horse on the power picks in the Funny Side as well, but that's a fun race, and he was a fun horse that was beloved because of everything around him, being a New York bred, the connections, everything, and he passed earlier this year, correct, if I'm remembering?
Yeah, about a month or two ago.
About a month or two, yeah. So that's another positive, not the death, obviously, but just his story and where he came from, and having it on this day, it makes the day, give some positive after some of yesterday's negativity.
Howard, last thing, I know we're going to talk tomorrow night, but I know when you picked Arcangelo, you mentioned picking Arcangelo down the line. I have good news for you, Howard. I just went by very briefly this morning just to take a picture. I sent you the picture. That horse was full of vim and vigor today, like he galloped yesterday morning. I mean, horses come out of races differently, but that's 1.25 miles on a tiring racetrack. You would not know that horse won 1.25 mile race yesterday. He was as lively and get up and go so good news for you down the line. We'll talk more about him tomorrow night.
Here's how we're going to end this show in a little bit of an unusual way. I want to thank Paul Halloran and Pete Visco for coming on. Let's end with the Gemmin 10 Adelphi spot and pay some bills at the same time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck to my fellow partners in Adelphi Racing today in race 8 with the lucky number 13 Gemmin 10. Crush your bets, everyone. Good luck today at Saratoga. Here's the Gemmin 10 spot. Good day, everyone.
Here comes Gem Mint 10 and now Dylan Davis, and they get ready to swarm these leaders. Gem Mint 10 is in front. Gem Mint 10 wins the finale.
Welcome to Adelphi Racing Club's unparalleled partnership experience. Exclusive access to the backstretch at Belmont and Saratoga, premier accommodations on race day, and of course, experience excitement like no other. Contact us today to get a taste of the Adelphi difference.